Assalamualaikum and a very good day. My name is Siti Nur Azra and today my group and I will be presenting our lesson plan and we are from group 11. Before we begin, I would like to introduce my group members. First, myself, Siti Nur Azra binti Azman. Next, we have Nur Shazliana and Arvil Anthony. And then we have Hazel, Winsome, and lastly, Rajanur Maria Kalisha. For this lesson, the theme chosen is health and environment, and the topic is fast food, fast way to meet the doctor. The main skill focused on in this lesson is speaking. The learning objectives for this lesson are first, individually, students are able to identify five correct answers related to the topic, which targets C2, understanding. Second, in pairs, students are able to produce a role play on how to maintain a healthy diet using three correct phrases, which targets C3, applying. The learning standard addressed in this lesson is 2.1.2, which requires students to ask for and respond appropriately to simple suggestions. The topic fast food, fast way to meet the doctor, is chosen because it is highly relatable to students' daily lives. Fast food is something students are familiar with, and it naturally encourages them to express opinions, preferences, and suggestions. Additionally, this topic allows students to critically think about their eating habits and make connections between diet, health, and lifestyle, which supports meaningful learning and real life application. The learning objectives are aligned with higher order thinking skills by gradually moving students from understanding to application. The first objective focuses on C2, where students identify correct answers related to fast food and healthy eating. This helps students build foundational understanding. The second objective targets C3, where students apply their knowledge by producing a role play. In this stage, students are not only recalling information but also using language meaningfully to give and respond to suggestions, which directly aligns with Learning Standard 2.1.2. Through pair work and role play, students practice authentic communication, which strengthens both their speaking skill and their ability to respond appropriately in real life situations. Now, moving on to the set induction. The purpose of the set induction is to capture students' attention, activate their prior knowledge, and also prepare them for the lesson topic, particularly in practicing speaking skills. This is achieved through an interactive speaking activity called Fast Food Chain Talk. The activity encourages all students to participate, listen actively, and speak using complete sentences in a supportive environment. At the beginning of the lesson, the teacher will greet the students to create a positive learning atmosphere. The teacher then introduces the activity and displays sentence starters such as I like eating fast food because my favorite fast food is, and then the student has to continue. So these sentence starters act as scaffolding to support students, especially those with lower proficiency. Now, this is the slide that will be displayed by the teacher to the students. So, the teacher would model one example orally to demonstrate the expected sentence structure. For example, here we can see, I like eating fast food because, and then the teacher will come up with an example like, I like eating fast food because it's delicious. The students are then instructed to stand up and speak according to their seating order, and each student repeats their previous sentence and adds a new sentence related to fast food before sitting down. So, through this activity, students are able to express opinions, practice listening, and respond appropriately, which directly supports Learning Standard 2.1.2. And at the end of the activity, the teacher links students' responses to the topic of healthy and unhealthy food choices, leading smoothly into the main lesson. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Next, for the pre-lesson stage, teacher conducts an activity titled Fast Food or Healthy Food. The purpose of this pre-lesson is to gain students' attention, activate their prior knowledge, and prepare them for the lesson topic. During the activity, the teacher displays pictures of different types of food in the slides. Students respond corally by identifying whether the food shown is fast food or healthy food. This choral response encourages whole class participation and reduces students' anxiety. Teacher gradually increases the pace of the activity to maintain students' engagement and focus at the beginning of the lesson. Next, the teacher asks a quick thinking question, which is, which one do you eat more often? Two students are called to respond orally. This allows the teacher to encourage individual participation and relate the activity to students' real life experiences. Based on the students' responses, the teacher introduces the lesson topic in a meaningful and student-centered way. Finally, the teacher displays the learning goals on the slide and asks students to read them aloud together, ensuring that students are aware of the lesson objectives.
Next, let's move on to the next part, which is the lesson development under the first stage, which is input. So for the first step, teacher will give an audio to the students according to the topic, which is healthy diet. This audio can actually help students to know how to ask for and respond appropriately to simple suggestions. Next, teacher will distribute handout 1, which contains a list of phrases taken directly from the audio itself and also other phrases that are related to the topic. Last but not least, the teacher will ask few students WH questions to ask understanding. For example, what is the audio is all about, who are the speakers, and what kind of healthy foods that they are suggesting. As for evidences from the lesson plan, the audio itself contains conversation between two students according to the topic, which is healthy diet. Next is the handout 1, which contains phrases from the audio itself and also extra phrases related to healthy diet. These phrases can actually help students on how to generate ideas and ask and also respond appropriately to simple suggestions when they are doing their speaking activities later on. Next, let's move on to the second stage, which is the task. So the teacher will distribute new handouts contains reading passage and WH questions in the forms of bubble maps. These WH questions are directly taken from the reading passage itself. And next, teacher will distribute new handouts, which is the worksheet. It contains multiple choice questions that are related to the reading passage. For the evidences from the lesson plan, the rationale for this task is actually help students to prepare themselves before doing the speaking activity later on. So here are the evidences, which is the reading passage and bubble map WH questions, which taken directly from the reading passage. One of the questions that can be asked is, when should students drink enough water? And the answer is every day. Next, why should students choose healthy food every day? And the answer is to stay fit and avoid health problems. So these phrases can be used to ask or respond in the simple suggestions in their role play later. Next is the worksheet, which contains 8 multiple questions, and they have to at least identify 5 correct answers to reach their learning objectives. And last but not least, feedback. So the teacher will call out at least 4 students to share the answers. Each student need to share 2 answers, and the teacher will give responses to the answers itself, and they will correct the answers if there are any mistakes, which fall under the first differentiation strategy. And last but not least, teacher will ask students to raise their hand if they got 5 or more correct answers, and those students will get a star in their notebook as a reward.
Hi, I'm Rajana Marakalisha and I will be explaining our post lesson. The objective for this stage of the lesson is that by the end of the lesson, students should be able to work in pairs to produce a role play on maintaining a healthy diet using at least 3 correct phrases. This activity focuses on cognitive skill level 3, applying in reference to Bloom's taxonomy. So this part very much focuses on applying what they have learned in L1. Alright, the first stage is input. For input, the rationale is to guide students how to do the task. So let's see how our lesson plan incorporate this. In the input stage, the teacher provides clear instructions, context, and language support before students attempt the role play task. This could be seen from the evidences from the lesson plan. The first one is teacher tells student that they are going to do a role play activity called Mission Make My Friend Healthy. This is the instruction. And the next one is teacher distributes handout 4 that contains a scenario, which is the handout 4 on the right. This is the purpose for the context, and then teacher asks student to read the scenario correctly together for the context comprehension. And the last one is teacher tells students they need to use the list of phrases from handout 1 to produce their role play. This is the language support. These steps ensure students understand the task requirements, the context, and the language structure needed to successfully complete the activity. Now we move on to task. The rationale for this stage is to assess students' ability to apply what they have learned, particularly the use of phrases for asking and giving suggestions in a communicative context. How it is done in the lesson plan? Well, students actively apply the target language by producing a short role play based on the given scenario by using the sample phrases. This includes interaction, application, and assessment to serve the rationale. The incorporation of interaction can be seen when teacher asks students to choose their pair, and when teacher tells students they need to include 3 phrases that they have learned related to the topic. This is the application that serves the rationale. This stage allows the teacher to observe students' speaking ability, accuracy, and confidence in applying the target language, fulfilling the assessment purpose of the task. Next and lastly is the feedback. The rationale for this stage is to allow students to present their work and to receive feedback that helps improving their speaking skills in terms of our lesson plan. How it is done in the lesson plan, the teacher facilitates presentations and provides oral feedback while also encouraging peer involvement. Here are the evidences from the lesson plan. The first one, teacher chooses 3 pairs to present their role play in front of the class. This is the present part. The next one is teacher calls out 2 students to give their opinion on the role play presentation. This is peer response. And the last one, teacher gives feedback and corrects if there are any mistakes. This is the teacher feedback. Through this stage, students gain confidence in speaking, receive constructive feedback, and learn from both teacher and peers. That's all from me. Next presenter.
For this lesson plan, the differentiation strategy applied is differentiation strategy number 1, which is differentiation by instruction and feedback. This strategy is applied at 2 specific points in the lesson, which are during the lesson development feedback stage and again during the post-lesson feedback stage. What makes this strategy meaningful is how feedback is used, not simply the act of giving feedback itself. In this lesson plan, feedback is used as a tool to respond to students differently based on what they show, what they can, or what they cannot do. As a result, weak learners receive feedback that focuses on correction and guidance, while advanced learners receive feedback that focuses on reinforcement and improvement. In other words, differentiation in this lesson plan does not come from different tasks, but from different types of feedback given at different performance levels. Now, moving on to the first stage, where differentiation through feedback is applied, which is during lesson development, specifically in the feedback stage. At this point in the lesson, students are required to share their answers orally. This step is important because it allows the teacher to immediately observe who understands the task and who is still struggling. In step 4, the teachers correct students' answers if there are any mistakes, and this step is explicitly identified in the lesson as differentiation strategy number 1. This is where differentiation begins to take place. For weak learners, feedback is corrective and immediate. When an incorrect answer is given, the teacher responds by pointing out the mistake and providing the correct answer. This helps weak learners understand what is wrong and what the correct form should be before the misconceptions become fixed. At the same time, students who are able to answer correctly continue without any interruption, which prevents stronger students from being slowed down. Then, in step 5, the lesson plan introduces a reward system where students who obtain 5 or more correct answers receive a star in their notebook. This feedback serves as a different function. Instead of correction, advanced learners receive positive reinforcement and their achievement is recognized publicly, which increases motivation and encourages them to maintain their performance. Therefore, differentiation during lesson development occurs because feedback is used in two different ways, which are correction for weak learners and motivation for advanced learners. Let us look at the second stage where differentiation by feedback is clearly applied in this lesson plan is during the post-lesson role play activity, again at the feedback stage. After students complete their role play presentations, the teacher provides feedback based on each pair's performance. This allows the teacher to assess students' speaking ability, use of phrases, and confidence level. In step 7, the teacher gives feedback and corrects mistakes, and this step is again labeled as differentiation strategy number 1. For weak learners, feedback at this stage focuses on helping them to improve without discouragement. Corrections may involve highlighting pronunciation errors or incorrect sentence structures while still acknowledging their effort. This type of feedback helps weak learners feel supported rather than feel judged. Meanwhile, advanced learners benefit more strongly from step number 8, where the teacher gives comments on each pair's role play presentation. These comments are more detailed and focus on fluency, expression, and overall delivery, allowing advanced learners to further refine their speaking skills. To conclude, this lesson plan applies differentiation by feedback by adjusting the focus, depth, and purpose of feedback according to students' performance, ensuring that both weak and advanced learners are supported in meaningful ways.
Okay, now we'll be looking at closure. In this lesson plan, the activity of the closure will start with the teacher introducing the name of the activity, which is thumbs up, say yes. First, the teacher will be instructing the students to mimic the movement of the teacher, which is thumbs up and thumbs down. And the teacher will explain that thumbs up stands for yes and thumbs down stands for no. And then the teacher will make a statement like, I want to eat more fast food after this, or I will eat healthy food more often. And after each statement, the students will react with thumb up or thumbs down action, followed by saying yes or no. And by the end of the closure stage, the teacher will praise the students for their participation, and the teacher will end the lesson. So moving on to conclusion, the activities in this lesson plan encourages the students to speak. This is so that the students can practice using the English language more. Other than that, this lesson plan strictly sticks to the topic, which is fast food, faster way to meet the doctor, which means this lesson plan is coherent. Coherence helps the student to not get confused and encourages the students to apply newly learned words in the lesson.